Today I've got some information for you on this lovely Heartfelt Bloom set. Just a couple of tips of how to get really good results each time you stamp with it. The Heartfelt Blooms is one of our celebration offerings, and in Australia every $90 you spend you can choose one offering out of the celebration book. Or if you spend $180, there's a couple of offerings for that amount as well. The celebration booklet is available, and you can either download it from my sidebar or you can ask me to send you a copy. Now, the Heartfelt Blooms is one of the new distinctive stamps range, and it's really photographic. It's absolutely beautiful, very detailed, and therefore gives you really great results if you can get it right. And that's what my tip is about today. The main tip, of course, is that you must have your ink at the right wetness. I've found in experimenting that if the ink is too wet, you get a very blurred image, and if it's just right, the image is absolutely perfect. So let's look at the stamp set. It's got one beautiful large photographic image and three very nice sayings or greetings. So it'll become a very useful set. I'm going to show you what I mean about having the ink too wet. Now, I know for a fact that my Elegant Eggplant ink is too wet. It's a little bit over inked. I just re-inked it with my re-inker, and when we ink up the image, you'll find even with just light application of the ink that it's too wet. So that's just a couple of taps there with the ink pad. When you stamp, it's a really good idea to stamp quickly, and that helps to keep the image nice and sharp. And I also like to keep my two fingers in the middle there, just to make sure that center bit gets enough pressure. So you can see from this that is a little bit blurry, particularly around this edge here. I'm going to now stamp a much drier ink pad, my Night of Navy, which gives a really nice finish, and I think this ink is just about perfect for stamping with. Again, just ink up the stamp with the ink pad, and I find it better with these larger stamps to apply the ink to the stamp rather than the stamp to the ink. Just a couple of taps there with your ink pad, and again straight down and straight up, and you will see now what a really beautiful image you get. So if we're comparing the two, you can see the difference there in the actual amount of detail, particularly in the leaves and things like that. So that's the first tip. The second tip is that you can actually blend with your blender pen some parts of the image. So you can see on this one here, I've actually used my blender pen just on that flower that I've cut out and raised up, and it becomes quite lovely. I've got some actual still photos of that, so you'll be able to see that. Just a nice little different image. You still retain all the lovely line work from the distinctive stamp range. And finally, it's really easy to create different shades of the one stamp. This is the same stamp that I used to stamp this image, and I have not re-inked it, but if I just simply stamp it again, you can see that you can get a lovely, lovely softer shade there. And I've seen a few examples of using different colors as well to get a different version. So we have here another example of how you can use this lovely stamp set. This is to create your own designer series paper. This time I have inked the stamp each time I've stamped it, so we get a lovely even image, and you can just rotate the stamp around to get how you want. Well, I hope these tips have helped you. Just remember about the wetness of your ink. That's the most important thing for you to be happy with your result, and also to not leave the stamp sitting down on the paper and pressing hard and rocking it and all that sort of thing, because that is basically not the correct technique to use for this type of stamp, because you'll get smudges and you'll get your ink looking more like that, which is not the right one. Remember, we want some of this lovely clear pixelated images. Hope you've enjoyed that, and I hope it's been helpful to you. If you've been having a little bit of trouble, don't worry about it. It's just experimenting and you'll be just fine. See you next time. Bye.